Alrighty, folks, eyes up here. 3, 2, 1, and time. First things first, I have to film class today, so everybody please wave at the iPad. It's back by my desk. Hello, iPad. Please approach class as normally as possible, because if admin has to watch all of these, I at least want them to know that you're funny. So we've got that. Okay, your question today: what dessert is the best dessert? Ready, set, go. I got ready in 10 minutes because I slept in this morning, so thank you for saying that. That is
I love cheesecake. You literally chose them one day. I didn't eat lunch, so I burned my own.
That's fine. That looks delicious, P.S. What? We have to do observations, and so they come watch us once in person, and then we have to film another one. And so I just have to have 20 minutes of filming. The camera's way more stressful than a person who I know likes me. Hands here too. Kaysen. Bailey. Okay. Alrighty, folks, come back to me. 3, 2, 1. And time. Best desserts. What do we got? Ice cream, cheesecake. What else? Okay. What is that? It's for the flavor. Don't worry about it. Okay. Kyla?
My great-grandmother's Sunday morning breakfast.
Can I ask what's in that? Because cake for breakfast is the best idea. I love that that's breakfast. Perfect.
We make it almost every Sunday.
I love that for you. Awesome. Amazing. Any other votes for best desserts?
It's actually really good. I know it sounds
It's like a cake version of like an apple cinnamon roll sort of thing. With oatmeal. I like it. That sounds great. Whatever we need to do to be able to eat cake for breakfast, I'm on board. 100%. Okay, folks. That's fair. That's fair. Muffins were a great invention. I really love whoever did that for humanity. Okay. Today, we are shifting gears. At this point in the trimester, we've written 2 paragraphs. Paragraph number 1 was symbolism about yellow wallpaper. Paragraph number 2 was writing about figurative language from a movie of your choice. Today, we're going to start another paragraph. We're going to do 2 paragraphs this week. And these are 2 more fail-safes where, like, no matter what they throw at you on the AP test, you can do something with either of these lit devices. And so these are some other ones that are good fallbacks, just in case we can't find anything else. The one we're doing today is tone, and you're going to be writing, you're going to be analyzing the tone of a song of your choice. My things I'm asking for on this are that you can use a song that has cuss words in it, just don't use the cuss word parts in your evidence. Fair? Okay. We will have books with lots of cuss words that you can use as evidence later, but I just want to like limit the number of times that the counseling center gets pinged about what you're writing about in your Google accounts. So we're going to limit that just a little bit. So try to not cuss in your paragraphs today. The time will come later where we can have cuss words in what we're writing about. But for today, no, not yet. As we were talking about tone, I'm going to hand you guys this tool we have. This is an analysis tool. I'm going to get everybody one of these first, and then we'll walk through it. You shouldn't need to write on this at all, but if you have not started logging into the Chromebook yet, please start doing that. Yes, if you've been in my reading group, you have seen this already. That's because it's due November 8th, and a bunch of us forgot, so we're all doing it this week. It's just like an observation thing. Admin can't always fit it in their schedules to come watch us teach, and so we have 1 in person and 1 digital. Let's go for it. What is? It's a breakfast burrito from Beto's, but what kind?
It's a carne asada fried burrito.
Ooh.
From Beto's.
It is.
I've already committed to taking myself to Cane's this afternoon.
Wait, I've seen this. It's like
But
Well, I haven't
yes,
eaten all the day long. And
all the day long. Hun, why?
Because I wasn't hungry, and then I finished my Monster, and then I was hungry, and I'm like, Beto's.
Probably eat and then drink the Monster, for the sake of your stomach health, just in general.
I did take my heart medication, but
We can talk about that later. Okay, folks. We are going to be looking at this tone wheel thing today. First thing you need to know, this is a specificity tool. So essentially what we're looking for here is for any text that you are assigned to do an analysis of. If there are words, there's some kind of tone happening in there. Even if the tone is bored or bland or lack of tone, that's still technically a tone and still has some sort of impact on the way you're interpreting the writing. Therefore, we can talk about the tone no matter what they throw at us. The way that this works, for whatever text you're analyzing, you start in the very center of the circle with your 6 base emotions. We have anger, disgust, sadness, happiness, surprise, and fear. Once you've kind of pinned down what category the tone kind of fits into, you work your way out to the edges, and the further you get to the edge, the more specific your word choice gets. So if you start with happiness, and you go from happiness to intrigued, that's that last one, right there at the end of happiness. Intrigued can break down into 2 versions of intrigued, which are fascinated or inquisitive. So either of those are going to give you a much more specific version. The reason we want to be more specific is if we're staying in generalized land, our analysis doesn't have very much space to grow, right? In that commentary section, we don't have a ton of things we can say to prove this is happy. However, if we have a more specific tone we're going for, then whatever it is we're analyzing, we're going to have to be really specific because our base word is really specific. And so we want to make sure that we give ourselves a lot to talk about and a lot to unpack. This is a very nuanced tool which kind of makes room for different interpretations of these different things. And we want to make sure that we have as much space to talk about our interpretation as we possibly can. So we're going to practice this right now really quick. We read yellow wallpaper a couple of weeks ago with your table group people. Use your tone wheel to determine a potential tone or several potential tones for the yellow wallpaper. You have 1 minute. Ready, set, go.
I'm in football.
Okay.
And my coach is wondering if you could just email him saying that.
Yeah. Is it wait? Okay. Ten seconds. And 3, 2, 1, and time. We're not going to raise hands on this, just shout them out at random. What different tones did we come up with for yellow wallpaper? Because there's a lot. It shifts all throughout. So what sort of tones do we see in there that you can remember? What do we got? Disturbed, paranoid, inferior, victimized, perplexed, isolated. What else? Vulnerable, intimidated, despondent, right? She's really in it, right?
All the words in fear and all the words
All the words in fear and all the words in sadness. And several in anger, because she does get ragey. What'd you say? Abandoned. Anything else? Alienated. Perfect. A lot of things on this wheel fit for that. And that's good because there's kind of an evolution of her mental health and an evolution of the tone at the same time, which means there would be a lot of really cool things to talk about in that story if you're analyzing the tone of that story, because you can talk about her in section 1 versus her in section 10 and how things change throughout. And that's a great analysis of how the tone is also reflecting her mental state of how she's doing throughout the story. That's kind of what we're going to be doing today, right? So you're going to pick your own song, and then for that song, you need a theme statement and you need your evidence as per usual. Your tones, you can either do 2 pieces of evidence that are the same tone, or you can do 1 tone and a second tone and analyze 2 different tones in the same paragraph. Either are fine. So we're going to walk through what this looks like. It's our same paragraphing system that you guys are used to. We're just switching the lit device that we're actually talking about. So in your guys' assignment today, you're looking at the writing about tone assignment. And we have our normal paragraph formatter thing right here. Quick side note. If you're one of my people who is currently a little bit behind in this class from absences or just not clicking or whatever is going on, if you have other paragraphs you have not finished, I would like you to write at least the first half of this one today. That way you have it started, and then when you come back to it later, you can go in and finish it, sort of thing. Statistically speaking, you're much more likely to go back and finish an assignment you've already started than one you never started in the first place. So I want you to make sure that you are working on this one, because this is one of our easier analysis things that we can do. Most of you do this several times a day, looking at text messages from people who you think might be mad at you anyway. And so this is just the same thing that we're doing. We're just going to do it with song lyrics instead, and then you'll kind of just emulate that process. So get at least the first half done. Remember, these split in half right at that commentary line. So we have assertion, lead, and evidence commentary, and then a second assertion, lead, and evidence commentary, and then our final sentence. So if we can get the first 4 boxes, you can switch to whatever missing work you want to do after that, just so long as you have this started. Fair? Okay, beautiful. Now, we are going to demo run this paragraph really quickly. That way you guys can kind of see what a tone breakdown looks like, specifically in our assertion section and in our commentary section, because that is where your grade really comes from in these paragraphs. The lead and evidence are just hoop jumping, and we know that. So first things first, we need to pick a song. I do teach a tone lesson in the reading group that I teach, if any of you guys have been in my reading group thus far. So we're going to pick the song that I do for that one just because it's already fresh in my head. And I couldn't think of one during first period while I was tired, so we're just going to keep doing that. So we're going to do You Belong With Me by Taylor Swift. Generally speaking, this is a very happy yippity-skippity song, tone-wise, for the music production. It's very like, yay, it's true love, we belong together, woohoo. That is not how the lyrics are, literally at all. The lyrics are a little bit like deceptive, jealous, judgmental, condescending. Like there's a lot of tones going in there because the premise of this song is that she's in love with some other girl's boyfriend and is not afraid to do something about it. And so that's not exactly the tone match for the production of the song. That might be the case for a song that you pick. So keep in mind that just because the song sounds happy, it's not always a happy song. And we are looking at lyrics specifically, not music production specifically. So make sure you have that kind of in your system. Once you have your song picked out, we know that our first thing we're going to need to do is write a theme statement for this song. For the 9 millionth time this trimester, basics for a theme statement. No I, me, my's, us, we's, ours, yous, or yours, so no first or second person pronouns, and it cannot be phrased as advice, so no don'ts, would've, could'ves, or should'ves should be in there either. This is something that most of us are doing pretty naturally at this point, and so I'm not really concerned about that. I have a few people every now and then that'll be like an us snuck in there, because that's not one that we think about a lot of the time, but for the most part, we're pretty solid on these. So it's a song of your choice. Pick one that you could be able to write a theme statement on, and then move on from there. For this one, I'm going to mostly hone in on like the jealousy part of this, because the title You Belong With Me is really cute, but the premise of like you belong with me, not her, is the subtext. And so we're going to hone in on the jealousy bit. We're going to say jealousy is or can be a source of contention in many friendships, or something like that. We want something basic that kind of gets into the jealousy bit. We don't necessarily need to specify that this is about trying to steal another girl's boyfriend. That's a little too specific. And so we're going to zoom out and just focus on jealousy, and then contention is going to be mostly what we call it back to. Once I know what song I'm writing, once I know what theme statement I'm going to be kind of working with, I can go in and pick out my evidence. Now, for you guys, all you have to do is Google your song lyrics, and usually they will pop up pretty quick. azlyrics.com is another really easy one to do. I would read through the whole thing, which might be a lot, but I would read through the whole thing and then figure out the vibiest lines, or like the lines that would alert you the fastest to what kind of mood someone's in if you got it in a text message, is kind of what you're looking for here. Thank you, Courtney. Regardless, as you're going through this, you want to look for things that kind of like set off flags in your head, like, oh, that one's really like real or really vibey, or she's so real for whatever it is. You want to look for those things specifically, because that means that you're automatically having an almost like, not internal reaction, but there's almost kind of like a, I can't think of the word, it starts with an I, instinctual reaction to these lyrics. And so you want to make sure that you're honing in on that. For me, in the first verse, it is, she'll never know your story like I do. I feel like that one really cues in on the jealousy, where it's like, she's not good enough for you, but I am, is essentially what we're saying in this line. So I'm going to pull this for my first piece of evidence. I'm just going to copy it off. When you paste it over, if you just hit Control V, it will paste it in this style, however that's formatted. However, if you paste it in by hitting Control Shift V, it pastes, or it's not going to, apparently. Why do not do it the way I wanted you to? Okay, it's not working anymore. Never mind. It will put it in there, however it puts it in there. You want to make sure that you do put it into quotes. and you're going to be citing it with the song title this time. So you'll type in the whole title, You Belong With Me. Again, parenthesis, period after the parenthesis. Once you've done that, just for me and my general sanity, if you could go back and change this to what it should be, which is Playfair Display 12-point font with no highlighting, that would be great. It just makes it all match, and it's nicer on my brain to not have extra colors in there that I don't want to look at. Please and thank you. Once you have your first piece of evidence in, I would go in and put the second one in as well, just so that way you don't have to go back and find things every single time. On the AP test, you will know what you're going to use for your evidence before you start your paragraphs, because they will give you the texts themselves, and so you're going to know what you're going to use. That's part of your plan going into it. So make sure you have that evidence picked out before you start this. You cannot write this assertion or lead-in if you don't know what's in this evidence box yet. Same with this one, you cannot write this transition to assertion or lead-in if you don't know what's in this evidence box yet. So everything precipitates from knowing what is in your actual evidence. Once you have your actual evidence, you can start at the top and speed run the whole thing. You can also do this in half. So if you want to do assertion, assertion, lead-in, commentary, commentary, you can. That's not how you're going to be able to really do it. Kind of. We're writing online this year for the AP test, so hypothetically you could make that work. But if you're more comfortable just starting from the top and working your way down, you can do that as well. I'm going to go in and pick out my second piece of evidence. We know we were talking about jealousy in this first one. The chorus for this song is actually, it just reeks of desperation. And so we are going to steal this bit right here. Been here all along, so why can't you see you belong with me? We're going to steal that guy too. And we're going to put him in. Quotation mark, paste, quotation mark. Really quickly, formatting wise, we'll talk about this more when we get to poetry. If you are quoting more than one line of a song at once, you're going to have to go in at the beginning of every line and backspace it back up to the first line, and then put slash marks between those lines. That's how we format poetry. So we're going to do song lyrics the same to kind of get that in our system to start today. That shows us where the lyric line breaks are. It's not something we're going to analyze today, but when we get to poetry, it is something that we'll get into more often. And so that is something we want to keep an eye on. Again, we will also cite this with our song title, parenthesis, period after the parenthesis, and then we'll adjust our formatting again. And remember, I do absolutely all of your assignments in 12-point font, Playfair Display. So if you ever do need to change it back, that is what it's supposed to be in. Any questions about our evidence formatting stuff? Gorgeous. Okay. We're going to start this from the top then and work our way down. What is the transition word I've consistently been using at the beginning of every single paragraph? Initially. Perfect. It's just a fancy version of first. Once I have that transition, I need to put in an assertion. Now, there are two required pieces of an assertion. What's one of them, Symphony? Perfect. What lit device am I actually using? So I need to know what lit device I'm using. Lucky you guys, it's been assigned to you. You're writing about tone today. So it's tone. However, in order to make this flow better, we're going to say what kind of tone we're talking about in the actual assertion. So whatever tone you're going to be working with for this first one, or maybe for both of them, we're going to pop that in right before tone. So we're going to say initially jealous tone is used in the song. I can't type the song. Nope. Okay. The song. And then we need our second half of our assertion, which is about what other thing, Kyla? Perfect. What higher meaning is being emphasized by that lit device? And we're going to follow that procedure for every assertion that we write. For most of your guys' paragraphs today, because you're writing about tone, whatever tone is probably being used to emphasize the emotional state of whoever the speaker is of whatever your evidence is. And for music, it's just whatever the singer is feeling, right? So initially, a jealous tone is used in the song to convey the singer's feelings of resentment toward her neighbor's girlfriend. Oh my gosh, I cannot write today. Regardless, okay, so in here we have what tone that we're talking about, which is our lit device. We have the deeper meaning, which is the feelings, and then I'm also going to ask you to specify like the direction those feelings are going in, because we don't want to just say it's just used for their feelings. I want to know either what feelings, or I want to know their feelings about what. That way we're a little bit more specific. We have it a little bit more locked in. From there, we're going to go into our lead-in. This can go one of two ways because this is a song. If your song kind of sets up almost like a narrative. It's like it's a little bit of a story. You can give me context. You could be like, so when she is considering her future with her neighbor, she comments about his relationship with his current girlfriend or something like that. You could also say, like, in the first verse, she comments or something like that. Either of those are fine. Tone, like what we're writing about for tone, won't always have verses, right? It could be a short story or a novel. It won't just be songs. It'll probably never be songs after today. And so if you want to go more situational, you can. However, I'm okay for today if you want to go in and say like in the first verse or something like that. So we're going to come in here. So we're going to combine them. We're going to say in the first verse.